Hello everyone, what's up and welcome to my channel. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Chola. I'm a Filipino student currently living here in Russia with my Russian boyfriend. And today I wanted to talk about my personal experience adjusting to life here and some of the challenges I've faced along the way and how I'm adapting. And of course, the unique things that make living in Russia so different from life back home in the Philippines. And if you're curious about what it's like to live in a completely different culture, or if you're planning to move to Russia. So make sure to stick around and please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a vlog. So davai, let's get into it. Living in Russia as a Filipino can be quite an adjustment considering the cultural, linguistic, and climate differences. And there are some challenges and aspects that I have experienced. So first is of course, the language barrier. Russian is tough. Russian is challenging language, especially if you're not familiar with Cyrillic script or the grammar structure. But me, before I studied the Russian language last year, because I first studied the Russian language before taking my course here. So before I came here to study, I studied first or practiced at home in the Philippines how to write their alphabet and words. And I also studied a few words of Russian. But now, I don't know, I already forgot it. Just kidding. So when I studied the Russian language, it wasn't that hard for me to write. Yes, just to write only. But even though I studied the Russian language, it doesn't mean that I know how to speak or understand Russian well. Well, no, definitely not. Russian language is very difficult and the grammar is so very confusing. Russian grammar is notoriously difficult, mostly due to factors such as the case system and perfective and imperfective verbs. And unfortunately, I live in a small city and far from the capital cities here in Russia. And not too many people speak or understand English because here in Russia, Russian language is the only important language. And for me, it is difficult to find a friend here because I don't know how to speak Russian yet or to understand. So it's impossible to communicate for a while because as a Filipino, it seems boring when you don't have any friends to hang out. But here in Russia, they are mostly introverts here and just a few friends are enough for them. And the others are used not to making friends, but not everyone because there are also other friendly people and of course we have a different personalities. And yes, they are shy type also. And here in Russia, if you're not already fluent to speak Russian language, it can make basic communication difficult, even for simple things like ordering food, or asking for directions, or dealing with official paperwork. So the second is the weather and the climate. The cold winters in Russia can be a big adjustment. Coming from the warm climate of the Philippines, the freezing temperatures, snow, and the lack of sunlight in winter can make daily life challenging and might even affect your mood, especially if you're not used to it. Because mostly it's always cloudy and it's like going to rain. So it always seems tiring and boring to go out. Russian winters are something else. I wasn't ready for temperatures that drop as low as -20 degrees Celsius. Layering up and getting the right gear was a major adjustment for me. So the third one is food and eating habits. Filipino food is very different from Russian cuisine. As a Filipino or Asian, rice is our life. Char. Our food will not be satisfied without rice. Filipino eat it with viands like adobo, sinigang, or tinula. But here in Russia, rely more on bread, potatoes, buckwheat instead of rice. As living in a small city here in Russia, it is difficult to find an Asian store to buy products because it is mostly only in big cities. It is a struggle unless you're in a major city with a Filipino community. That's why I can't always get the taste that I'm looking for like in the Philippines. So mostly the one who cooks for us here is my boyfriend, but I help him. Mostly he cooks like borscht, beet soup, and cabbage soup because they are similar to Filipino stews like porridge or stew, and yes, it's so very delicious. So the fourth is homesick. Being so far from home can be tough, especially when celebrating holidays like Christmas or New Year without family. And it's been 2 years since I've had Christmas in the Philippines. And yes, I felt like a bit jealous to my family there because they had reunions and gathered together to celebrate the Christmas and New Year. Because the Christmas in the Philippines is an early celebration around the world. Because by the time the bear months come, you will see beautiful and bright Christmas decorations in the houses. The roads will be noisy and happy because of the Christmas songs that can be heard in the houses, as well as the people caroling or singing carol at Christmas. Here in Russia is not as big or celebrated Christmas because their Christmas is on January 7 and yes, Orthodox. So the another challenge has been adjusting to the culture. Russian culture is a bit more reserved compared to the warmth and openness we're used to back in the Philippines. At first, I found it hard to read people or understand social cues, but I've been trying to embrace it and learn from it. But slowly, I'm getting used to the more formal and direct way of communicating here. So the next one is social isolation. Because of the language barrier, it might be harder to form close relationships with locals. There can be moments of loneliness when you realize the cultural gap and how difficult it is to connect in a meaningful way unless you meet people who speak English or have a similar background. So next is academic differences. Depending on the university, the style of teaching, the expectations, and the approach to exams can differ significantly from what you are used to in the Philippines. You might need to adjust your study habits or learn a new way of balancing academics with life. So yeah, that's it. Living in Russia as a Filipino has been a mix of challenges and exciting new experiences. Every day is a learning curve, but I'm thinking it all in stride. And if you're a Filipino thinking of coming to Russia, just know that it's totally possible to adjust even if it takes time. Well, that's all for today's video. And if you enjoyed this vlog, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And also feel free to share your own experiences if you're also living in abroad or planning to move. And yes, I'd also love to hear your thoughts. And thank you for watching and see you in my next video.